All right, Nick, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. One of the best times of year to talk about this team. That's draft time. We all know this is a team that drafts really, really solid and they get a lot of good players. And this year, there's a clear direction the Lions are going as far as what they need in this draft. But the way they get there, it may not be as obvious as people seem. Some people think one thing, but there's another option on the table, especially after Brad Holmes' latest comments that I think the Lions are going to do that would be really, really solid for this franchise. We'll get into that in just a minute, but first, I'm Andrew, that's Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, there's a clear direction as far as the position group the Lions are going to go after in this draft, especially in the first round, something they could be looking for. Let's get into the article, and then we can talk about how they get there on the other side. So this first article is from over on SI.com, and it's referencing Albert Breer. It says, I'd say there's a good chance that we see the Detroit dip into the deep supply of edge rushers in this year's class to find a bookend for Aiden Hutchinson long term. Obviously, that makes a whole lot of sense if they were to do something like that. He says, given the team has a little insurance as Hutchinson works back from this last year's injury, who could be there? A bunch. Abdul Carter, Jalen Walker, Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams will be long gone before Detroit gets on the clock at 28. I'll be interested to see whether they roll the dice on someone such as Tennessee's James Pierce or Marshall's Mike Green, who have character flags, rather than maybe going for the safer play such as Boston College's Donovan, I don't know how to pronounce this, but Ezekiel Aruku. Detroit's been disciplined with stuff over the past 4 years. As a result, they have the infrastructure, this is important, in place that may allow for a gamble. So I think it's interesting. There's a deep edge rusher class, a lot of interesting pieces. The high-level guys will be gone by 28. There's some guys they could roll the dice on with character concerns, or a guy that's maybe not as exciting as well from Boston College. But I think there's more to this, and I think there's another option on the table for Detroit. Let's get into Brad Holmes' latest comments from a press conference in referencing them being so deep in the draft. He says, I know we did that with the Jameson Williams trade. That was pretty far up there from where we're at, referencing them trading up a number of spots to go get Jameson Williams. Holmes said Thursday, that hasn't been the only year we have attempted to do that. Not at that specific position, but just for a player. And it takes two people, of course, to do a trade. And there's some teams that don't want to go back that far, but it does take two people, which leads me to believe this is a Detroit Lions team that knows, hey, we're back there. We're at 28. There's not going to be, too many blue chip edge rushers on the table anymore. This is a team that they could go out and get someone I think would be a really big get if they could get one of those guys that they said would be long gone at 28, which leads me to believe Brad Holmes is attempting a trade up into the first round, into the mid higher tier of the first round to go get one of those guys. They don't want to gamble on a Pierce or Green or a guy with these character concerns. This is a team that wants to jump up into the first round and get the sure thing, book in Aiden Hutchinson, and have this team be dominant. This is a team that's ready to win, and they're ready to go win right now. And as I said, they have the infrastructure to gamble on someone with character concerns, which also leads me to believe this is a team that has the infrastructure to spend a couple of draft picks, spend a little bit of capital to move up into the draft. There's no pressing need for this Detroit Lions team because of the structure that they have. They're able to spend some of that draft capital to go get the sure thing at edge rusher. I think this would be a huge move for the Lions, and I'm excited to see what happens on draft night. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, Nick, but before we get to you, let's hear a word from the sponsor of today's video.
With the NFL draft right around the corner, there are a lot of hours of preparation really being thrown into right now for one of the biggest nights of the entire season. So when we need to turn to a quick high-protein snack, we go to the sponsor of today's video, and that's Magic Spoon.
Yeah, Nick, I think whether it's their cereal or their protein treats, Magic Spoon fits a variety of diets. It's high protein, no sugar, great for carb-conscious lifestyles. Magic Spoon is basically your childhood reinvented. It's that same great taste that you remember, but upgraded with grown-up ingredients. Magic Spoon treats, they have 11 to 12 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, and 1 to 2 grams of carbs. On the other hand, though, Magic Spoon cereal, also very good, 13 to 14 grams of protein, zero sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs in each serving, so you can feel good about what you're eating. Now, Nick, you go ahead and tell the people about today's offer while I enjoy one of these treats.
Look, use our code SMI or click on the link in the description to try Magic Spoon cereal or treats today. And here's the most important part, you get $5 off. You can also find Magic Spoon on Amazon or in your nearest grocery store. I know it's right by my Publix. I love it. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product. It's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee online. So if you don't like it, for any reason at all, which you won't, you'll love it. They'll refund your money, no questions asked. So click on the link in the description to go to magicspoon.com/SMI or scan the QR code on the screen if you're big into QR codes for $5 off. Yeah, I agree with you, and I agree with the reporting. I think the Lions are about to make a massive deal. And if you look at the historical and kind of if you look at Holmes mentioned this, is they've done this kind of thing before. In fact, if you don't mind, Miles, can you fill out the little graphic here, courtesy of Perplexity AI? Great resource. Highly recommend you guys use them. This is the last couple of times the Lions have traded up in the first round. And you mentioned Jameson Williams, but last year they actually traded up 5 spots with the Dallas Cowboys from 29 to 24 to pick Terrion Arnold. And of course, going back to the 2022 draft, they traded 20 spots from 32 all the way up to 12 to select Jameson Williams. So Brad Holmes is not against trading up. In fact, he does this a lot. And if you look at other teams that do it a lot, a great example of this is the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. And look, I'm not as high on Howie Roseman as some other people. I think he's a great GM, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's like the God sent greatest GM of all time. But I think one thing he does very well is he recognizes that if when you get in the back 10, 12 picks of the first round, the value drops dramatically compared to the top half of the first round, right? The bottom 12 of the first round is basically similar, in my opinion, to essentially the first 15, 16 picks of the second round, because you get basically the guys at that point that are the character concerns and have some other big flaws, things like that. So if there's a player you want, it's worth trading up to go get him. The Holmes obviously did this a number of years ago with Williams, and I think he's setting himself up to do that once again in this draft, moving up a big leap. I think he moves up in the top 15. And again, going back to the Philadelphia Eagles, they've proven this model works. They did this with Jalen Carter. They did this last year with Cooper DeJean, the young corner who a lot of people viewed as a first-round prospect, fell out of the first round. The Eagles made big deals to go up and trade up and get him. They did it with Jordan Davis a number of years before that big defensive tackle out of Georgia. This is the right strategy to take if you're a title contending team. Be aggressive, right? If you look at the Detroit Lions, and this is the truth of the matter, does having an extra 4th round pick really mean anything? No, right? You need stars. You need elite players to round out your team to push you into the Super Bowl window to win a title, right? Now, look, if you're a rebuilding team, if you're the Raiders, right? Or if you're the Bears from a couple of years ago as they were trying to total rebuild, yeah, that extra 3rd or 4th round pick really matters because you're trying to fill out an entire roster. You got a million holes. The Lions don't have a lot of holes, right? Their offensive line, fantastic. Skill players, fantastic. Quarterback, obviously they have the box check with Jared Goff. Defensive backfield, great job this offseason. Love DJ Reed. DBs look good. Linebacking core, young and getting better and better. Of course, looking at Anzalone, looking at Rodriguez, looking at Campbell. This is a really good group. Defensive line, defensive tackle, they're solid, not spectacular, but I think they're certainly good enough, right? They're not maybe top 3 in the NFL, but they're certainly well above average. Defensive end with Aiden Hutchinson, spectacular. They just need one more playmaker. They tried it with Darius Smith. Yeah, look, he's a veteran. He had a few flashes. We'll see if he comes back at a later point. But now's the time to go out and get the bookend, right? We all understand it. It's worth the draft capital surrender. The Lions at this point are in the middle of a championship window. And as much as people love to think of these title windows as lasting forever, they really don't, right? The reality is, and the 49ers can tell you this, right? You can have a magnificent roster. You hit on every trade. You get lucky in a quarterback like Brock Purdy, but your window really doesn't last that long. The 49ers window, I think we can all agree, has kind of ended. It's kind of changed dramatically. So it lasted from 2019 to 2024, right? We're looking at, what is that, 6 NFL seasons? That's actually a pretty healthy window. The Detroit Lions, right, are 23 last year, or 2 years ago, 24 last year. So they've got, at best, 4 more years left. That sounds like a long time, but it goes by fast. You have got to take advantage of it. Go out and get your bookend edge rusher to make sure you can capitalize on this opportunity. I think the Lions and Brad Holmes absolutely are going to make this move. And there's a lot of teams in the middle of the first round that are definitely looking for opportunities to trade back. I think one of the things when you look at this draft and going through a lot of these guys in the middle of the draft, you look at a team like the Seattle Seahawks, you look at a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Los Angeles Chargers, right? You go up closer. I really look at a team like the Miami Dolphins or even the Dallas Cowboys, if you get more in the top 15, as teams that have more needs that they like to fill. They're not looking for specific guys that could be open to trading back. Obviously, the Lions' relationship with Dallas, they've done trades, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. I think Detroit's going to take a massive leap forward into the first round. They're going to get their lead edge rusher. I personally look at a guy here. I think Mykel Williams has been linked as a potential guy here because he's an athletic freak. I personally like Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. I think he's more the complete package. He fits that SEC mold that the Detroit Lions like. But regardless of the player you personally like, I think the Lions undeniably are going to make this deal. They're going to make this move, and it is the right decision to make. Take advantage of your window because it comes and goes. The 49ers, if you talk to San Francisco fans, they're disgusted because they know they had a phenomenal title window. They got lucky on a Mr. Irrelevant quarterback. They drafted and traded extremely well, and they're going to walk away with 0 Super Bowl titles, right? It's not worth risking your championship window. Go aggressive. Holmes realizes this, and I think he'll make a massive deal either on draft night or before.
Yeah, Nick, and I agree with what you say here. And I think one last thing is you look at this draft order and you look at where teams are picking and how things will fall. Like we said, you said it, the article said it. There's 4 really kind of top tier. There's the delineation after that 4. There's 4 edge rushers in this draft that really are elite and really worth trading up for to go get. But if you look at the top end of this draft, I think in the first 4 or 5 picks, even the first 7 picks, really, there's nobody that's really wanting to go get an edge rusher right out. The Titans, they're either going to get a quarterback or get Travis Hunter. Cleveland Browns, same situation. The Giants need quarterback. The Patriots, that's a question mark there. The Patriots do have their quarterback, but as far as what they get, I don't know if they're in the market for edge rusher. Jaguars are another question mark. The Raiders, they need a quarterback. The Jets, they have Fields, but I think they could also do with another quarterback if somebody falls to them. There's just a lot of opportunity for there to be a slide, not a deep slide, not to 28, but into the middle round, into that, maybe 8 through 17 range to where you could jump up and grab one of these guys. So I think this draft, it plays out where you're not having to trade out into the top 6, top 7 picks. You're not the, give an arm and a leg for a guy, but in that 8 to maybe 17 range, right in there, there's going to be a really good opportunity with, like you said, teams that are willing to trade back, that are looking to trade back, and maybe give you that opportunity to jump up and get the guy that you prefer. Now, there's an even bigger window, I'd say even to like in the top 24, where you could at least get a guy. Someone is there. But I think just overall, the Lions are set up to have a really great opportunity to get one of these edge rushers if they're aggressive, if they trade up in this draft. I think they should do it. And it's like you said, you don't want to blow a title window. You got a great team right now. You have everything in place. You don't want to say, if we would have just traded up in that 2025 draft and got another edge rusher, the team would have been complete and we could have gone on and made deep Super Bowl runs for the next few years. You don't want to miss out on that. The 49ers, they missed out on it. They really feel sick about it, like you said. Don't be the 49ers. Be a team who went all in and really committed yourself to winning and got the guy that you needed, and then the rest, like you said, is history.